This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate is the world's biggest coffee lover because we love all the ways you enjoy. Wait. Coffee Mate can't love coffee more than me. I'm a foodie. I went to Kyoto just for a nitro matcha latte. What? Oh, I have to finish the ad. Coffee Mate, for the love of coffee.
Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
The Dental Download podcast is your source for insight from conversations with fellow dentists, specialists, and leaders in the industry. With new episodes every Monday morning, I'm your host, Dr. Haley. Let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Download podcast. This is pretty much a series at this point. It's my monthly check-ins as a new dentist. So I address a lot of the similar categories month to month so we can talk about the improvements and the challenges throughout those categories. So that's things more on the personal side of things, personal life, health, happiness, finances, personal goals, as well as how things are going as a dentist itself, how things are going with production, how things are going with most challenging procedures, what CE am I taking? All of that will be covered in this week's episode. First off, though, every solo episode, I always do the same intro where I give a quick life update. I give you a recommendation for the week, something that's motivating me this week, and something I learned this week. Then we'll get into our 3-month check-in. So this whole episode is almost like a life update, so I won't get into too many details. But one thing that was interesting that happened in the past couple weeks is that I worked my first 5-day week. I picked up a Friday, which I didn't really plan on necessarily doing throughout working. I wasn't opposed to it, especially now that I don't have a family or anything yet. But the doctor that usually works Fridays was out of town. The other doctors were out of town, and they said, would you like to work? And I said, sure, why not? Because I had the chance to make some more money, get some more experience, and I didn't have any plans that weekend anyways. But it was kind of a flop, honestly. I saw one crown patient, so obviously that's a little bit of production, but then my other patient was supposed to be like 3 surgical extractions, and they didn't show up. It's really hard to get that committed conversion from a limited exam to then a procedure for some reason. And the issue was that we did not pre-collect on that appointment. So that was our mistake and likely why that patient didn't come. But yeah, I worked my first 5-day week and it was a little bit tiring. It was just, I wasn't as cheerful throughout the week because I knew that I had to work on Friday and like the week was going to drag out. So for some reason I was just a little like pessimistic and extra like tired when it was maybe Tuesday or Wednesday rather than normally I'm in pretty good spirits all week because my week is so short and my weekend is so long. Recommendation of the week. I have done all my fall decorating. If you're watching on Spotify video or YouTube video, I have some pumpkins going on in the background, but we've done our fall decorating here. I do not do any Halloween decorating until October because I have like little ghosts and cute things like that, but I do my pumpkins, pumpkin smelling things, any like fall leaves, fall wreath on the door, all of that. My motivator this week, I actually have a very fun weekend ahead at my first CE course as a dentist. I'm going to do an upcoming episode in 2 weeks about CE and deciding when to take CE, what CE, all of that, and how it works at my office. But I'm excited. I'm actually leaving in about 30 minutes, so we got to get this episode done. I got to go to the airport for this course. It is on CEREC crowns. One thing I learned this week, we always have, I feel like our little doctor's office within the practice, so like where the 4 doctors sit between patients is almost like a little brainstorming think tank. And I say little because it's a tiny room, but we fit. It's all good. But whenever we're in there, we're talking about patient cases or just talking about life. And I feel like I'm always learning so much from the other doctors, whether it's clinical or, again, life related. But a lot of the times I'm trying to get advice from the owner doctor to improve my communication skills. I talked about that a lot on the podcast, that I feel there's so much room for improvement with my terminology. So I'm always working on pushing myself to call out patients' problems and stop using words that lessen the reality of their situation, because I don't want to make them feel bad, because they deserve to know the truth. That's what you have to go back to, is that they deserve to know that they have severe periodontal disease, or they deserve to know that all of their teeth are breaking down, whether it hurts them or not. They should know, and you need to say it point blank. So I use words like, there's just a few cavities or just a small fracture. It's a fracture. It's a cavity, point blank. And also not letting patients make excuses for how they got there, because it doesn't really matter. It did not happen overnight. And sometimes, yes, there are a ton of contributing factors, and it's not that you don't care, and it's not that you don't have empathy for them, but you don't need to kind of victimize them and let them be a victim to their situation. You want to empower them, let them know what's going on, and let them know that they're here and ready to make a change, and you are ready to make a plan. And that's what's really nice about my office, is that there's so many wonderful doctors with different skill sets. So we're able to get them completely healthy in 2 to sometimes 3 visits, depending what's going on, but usually a hygiene visit and then a visit with the specific best doctor, whether that's taking out all their teeth and giving them implant retained dentures, or doing a bunch of restorations and then doing whatever hygiene they may need. That literally can be 2 to 3 visits, and then their whole mouth is brand new and ready to go and ready to be taken care of. And I liked this quote that my owner doctor told me yesterday, that if you see a fraud and you don't call them out, you're a fraud. So I have to remind myself of that I just can't let people make excuses over and over and over about why their dental state is the way it is. Especially when they're here, they obviously want something done. They're obviously looking for that push, but it's our job to figure out what's going to motivate them to take care of their health. I'm going to answer some of your questions from Instagram. Where is my budget tracker from, and how do I budget? So I do it by myself using a tracker that I purchased from a TikToker that I like. Her name is Erin Confortini. If you look it up, it was only like $3 when I got it. I think it's maybe $9 now, but she's made some upgrades, so I'm sure it's worth it. And then there's also plenty on Etsy, or you can use free ones even on like Google Sheets. But I really liked hers, and it had all the formulations and calculations put in there already. And eventually, I believe I'll be on the platform of our financial planner, but we haven't started officially working with him yet because we have to pay. So we don't have access to the platform yet, but I did do a kind of consultation with him because we have that working relationship about all of our upcoming financial questions with housing and cars and just life planning in general. So I was able to get some nice information from him. Have you had a lot of patients that thought you were really young and inexperienced? Young, absolutely. Inexperienced, no. Or people that like didn't want to see me, no, not at all. Even when people see a female dentist, most of them are like, oh, that's so cool. Like literally someone yesterday said, woman power, that's amazing. I've never seen a female dentist before. Or, wow, you're so young, like good for you. And I've even had a patient ask, like, do you mind me asking how old you are? And I don't lie. I don't mind telling them, oh, I'm 26. And they're like, wow, you're even younger than my daughter. Like, good for you. Like, they're just impressed that you're a go-getter. I think that's what they see you as a driven individual. And it helps that everyone on the team is very supportive and kind of hypes me up when I'm going to be a new clinician for someone. Advice for developing confidence as a D4 so you can go into practice after graduation. This is such a good topic. I love this question, and I want to make a whole episode on it. But to give you some quick tips, there are no quick tips. I know that's the worst thing to hear ever. It's not quick. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time, and I'm not going to say I was perfectly confident that, I don't know, I'm the world's best dentist upon graduation. Obviously not, but doing your external rotations, at least for me, gave me a ton of confidence because you got to work much more autonomously. You didn't have to be checked every single step. You could just do the work and then check in if you had questions, especially by the end of D4 year. The preceptors were checking you even less. And you didn't have to wait as long between checks because there's a lot less students and more preceptors. So you're able to do more repetition and they're scheduling shorter appointments. So you're just getting your skills up a lot quicker. And that's really everything in dentistry. It's called a practice for a reason. You just have to keep working. But I've always said this, and I'll say it again in case you've never heard me say it. You really want to go through your clinical years in dental school, 3rd and 4th year, with the mindset of I'm not going to do a residency. I need to be an independent practitioner upon graduation in 8 months, a year and a half, 2 months, whenever it is. You really have to push yourself to think through things before you go and grab faculty and have a rationale behind what you're doing, and thinking through your procedures before you start everything that should go a certain way. However, also thinking through if it doesn't go that way, what am I going to do, and be very prepared. And I did all of that, and I feel as though that was a big help for me, but mostly it was those external rotations, and everyone's going to have that experience. Well, let's get into the check-in elements of the episode. Our main topic, how are things going 3 months into work now? But first, a word from our sponsor. Raise your hand if you've been putting off getting disability insurance. Jim Kachmar from Doctors Disability Specialists can help educate you about your options. I have personally worked with Jim to ensure that my strategy is appropriate for me. He took the time to explain key terms and make me feel really good about my decision. If I were to describe Jim in a few words, I would use knowledgeable, kind, and collaborative. Jim can be reached via email at james.kachmar@ddsteam.net, or you can call him at 207-671-2216. His website is www.ddsteam.net/team/Jim-Kachmar. Reach out for a no-obligation complimentary consultation today. No compensation was paid to this client for their testimonial. Their experience may not represent the experience of others nor predict future results. Thank you again to Doctors Disability Specialists for working with me on this episode. Okay, we'll talk about the clinical stuff first, then we'll get into the personal side of things, finances, and personal life. So I love to use this benchmark about procedures I've seen or patients I've seen compared to dental school because I just think it is mind-blowing. So if you all remember, I saw 400 patients total in all of dental school, and that's, repeat patients if I'm seeing someone. So basically like 400 procedures, patient encounters, if you will, is the best way to phrase that. And that included on external rotation. And at my 2-month check-in, if you had listened, there was around 350. And now at my 3-month check-in, I'm over 700. So that just goes to show that you literally have an entire dental school experience in maybe 6 weeks of working in a private practice if they're keeping you busy. So just don't stress about dental school. Try to learn as much as you can. Get your requirements done. Obviously be a go-getter. Try to do more. Try to learn more. There's nothing that's bad about doing more experiences. The more the better. But it's just hard to get a lot of the time, and it can be very depressing and scary and make you feel like you're not going to be a good dentist. But unfortunately, it just makes you a safe beginner, and you're going to just improve your skills rapidly upon graduation because you're getting so much more experience. Speaking of experience, what is the hardest procedure currently for me? I would say it's surgical extractions lately. I've had some really tough ones. I've actually needed to get some help for finishing them off with the other doctors, which I had not had to do in all of working the first 2 months. So it was interesting. I was wondering, am I just getting more comfortable asking for help because I did it the one time? Then now I think I've asked 3 times total. Like on those second and third times, did I kind of give up is what I'm trying to ask myself rather than finish it on my own? Or was that truly the right time to stop myself and get help because they were that hard? And upon reflection, I really think I was practicing within my limits, and I knew that the patient deserved to get out of this appointment and get this done. And I just was not able to use the surgical handpiece exactly how I knew I wanted to in that moment. So I grabbed someone that I knew would get the job done. So I've still done a good amount of surgical extractions so far, and most of them have been very successful, but there have been a few really challenging ones. And comparatively, I've done a ton of crowns, but about half as many surgical extractions. So obviously, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with crowns. So just little by little with the repetition, it's going to get better and better. I know it. And I'd like to maybe do some kind of extraction CE, or maybe go on a service trip where we'll be doing a bunch of extractions for patients for free. Upcoming CE, I already told you I'm going to a CEREC CE later today in about 15 minutes. Personal time CE, I still haven't done anything outside of this course that I'm about to go to, other than, again, just looking up videos and things if I want to refresh before a procedure or gather more info, but I haven't necessarily been doing anything formal course-wise where I'm locking in, taking something for credits, doing the course after test and all that. Haven't done any of that yet. And we talked about production versus collection and like how my pay was going last episode, and I actually got my pay structure adjusted to be a percent of production instead of a percent of adjusted collections. So I'm getting paid on percent of production, which is what it was supposed to be. Apparently, there was kind of miscommunication, like misunderstanding between the person doing payroll and the owner doc when it comes to my contract. So I was so nervous to bring it up because that's kind of what I thought it was supposed to be, but I was just hesitant because I didn't want to rock the boat or seem ungrateful. And I also wasn't through my daily minimum months yet. So I don't know. I thought about waiting it out till the end, but I was like, no, I'm pretty sure like I'm way out producing my minimum, and I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be making significantly more from what I've produced at the office. And it all worked out. And I was so glad that I asked. But that was a big step for me, was taking the confidence to address it with the owner and then the person doing the payroll. And I was really proud of myself, to be honest, that I did that. It's not even like they're scary or anything. I just didn't want to come across as ungrateful. Let's check in on my savings goals. As you know, my little high yield savings account, which eventually I'm going to be investing this money, but for now, we got to do little by little. So our house down payment is a gigantic bucket. And in the high yield savings account, I've shared that you can set buckets. So I have like vehicles, a procedure that I want to get done, an emergency fund, gift fund, my taxes for my social media, getting a pet, our honeymoon, our house fund. And then my contributions are in there as well as my fiance's contributions in separate little buckets for the house fund. But we're both working towards funding that and have our goals there. But the house fund is a gigantic sum of dollars, obviously. So percentage-wise, it's going to take a very long time to get there. But fun updates is that my car down payment and just car fund, because I might actually put less money down. That's what my financial planner recommended because the interest rate's fairly low. So I might just keep this money for car maintenance or move it into a different bucket. But that is fully funded for what I originally was saving for a car down payment. My emergency fund is fully funded for 3 months of my typical expenses, which obviously if you're in an emergency where you're unemployed or something, you're going to be spending less money anyways. I won't be spending my typical like a little bit of Amazon shopping, or I'm not going to be probably booking flights and going on vacations and things, but I still did my typical expenses for 3 months in there. Nothing in the holiday gifts funds yet. I've just been kind of, as people have birthdays and things, taking it out of my checking account. I think I explained it before, but what I do is I have my payroll, certain dollar amount go into my checking account based on my budget for the month. And that's the only money that goes in there. And that's the only money I can spend. And I use that to pay off my credit cards. And then all of my other income, which as a dentist, it fluctuates because it's whatever you produce that month and it's going to be higher or lower. Whatever is left beyond my spending budget goes into my savings account. So sometimes that's a ton of money, sometimes that's a moderate amount of money, but either way, it keeps kind of a scarcity, not a scarcity mindset, because I am a very abundance mindset person, but it keeps me a little bit more in that, oh, I don't have all this money to blow, because when I look at my checking account, that's in my mind. That's how much money I have to spend. And then I view my high yield savings as like, we do not touch this. Like that is to go up, that never goes down. So I just make it work for my budgeted money into my checking account. And if I don't have the money, I just don't buy it or do the thing. I would say, generally speaking, obviously sometimes there's exceptions. And nothing for the pet fund yet, but Personal Life Update, our leasing manager for the house we rent, said we can get a puppy. So we're super excited about that. We're not going to do it anytime soon because we're just not ready to commit to waking up even earlier than I already do. A lot of days I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. I can't imagine just like getting up even earlier than that to do potty training and skills training and all of that. It just seems like too much. And then we'd also want to save a lot more money for extra training classes, vet bills. Maybe we're going to get pet insurance. And also we'd have to have like a dog sitter come every afternoon the days that I'm working, because I'm home Thursday afternoons and Fridays. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'd have to have someone come and let the puppy out and take it for a walk and play with it about like midday and give it lunch. So we have to save a lot of money and prepare for that. So it probably still won't even be like a year till we do that. But it's nice to know that we're not restricted, because we did decide to stay in this house until the end of March 2026. So we're renewing our lease. That was April 1st to end of March. And then we're renewing it for another year.
Greatness hurts. It's 10,000 hours of hard work, sweat, and setbacks. The aches, the stumbles, the falls. Tylenol provides pain relief for the champion in us all. It's the #1 doctor-recommended brand of pain relief and fever reduction. This summer, when greatness hurts, Tylenol will be there with care to help you keep chasing it. That's Tylenol. That's care without limits. Visit Tylenol.com/greatness-hurts to learn more. Use as directed.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
That way we can save a bunch of money, ideally, but we might not be saving a bunch of money, because the other life update is that we're a lot closer to committing to building that custom home. And when you're building the custom home, you make interest payments on the cost to build the home. That's how like the construction loan portion works. So as they're going through the process of building, you pay interest on whatever that amount of money is that the bank is giving them to fund the project. So you're still pretty much paying 7.5% of the cost of whatever your home is. So therefore, that's a good chunk of change. Plus, we'd need money for a down payment to do the construction to permanent loan, which is building the house and the mortgage all tied into one. And we need money for the closing costs. So I can make a whole episode about this because I would be super interested, but there are like physician loans for mortgages, and then very, very few places do physician construction loans. And the advantage of that is that you don't have to pay PMI, which is mortgage insurance, on your monthly payments, but you also can get 0% down approved, which maybe that's controversial, but I think as long as you're not taking out a loan for more than you can afford, if it's still a loan that's within your means, and maybe we have the money to do the down payment, but we'd rather not, because you can make more investing it than tying it up in this loan, is again, advice from our financial planner. So we're just saving aggressively as if we need to put a super big down payment down, 10, 20% plus to fund the construction process. But that doesn't mean we're going to use all the money, but regardless, build it up. I think just putting yourself in whatever mindset is going to make you save the most is what you got to do. And I'll give more updates as we go. But if you're interested in knowing how the loan processes work for houses and things, I've been so deep diving into that lately. So just let me know, maybe send me a message on Instagram if you're interested. And haven't saved anything for the honeymoon yet. And then my house fund is, I don't even know, does it tell you a percentage? 8% funded. And Justin's is 5% funded. So we're just getting started on that. But I mean, it's still a significant amount of savings. I would say we can get into kind of my overall happiness and well-being lately. It's been wonderful. I'm so grateful. I'm obsessed with my job. I love where we live. It's so fun being with my fiance. We get a ton of time to see friends and family because we're not that far from where our families live, like 2.5 hours. We can go back on the weekends. We have a lot of fun travels and things coming up as we're going through like our wedding season and my sister's wedding season. And yeah, just a lot going on, all very fun. But I would say we do at least get occasionally stressed about money just because of these big financial commitments that we're deciding if we're going to do. And again, we have gone over it with a financial planner and we know that it's like within our means, but it still gets stressful because I'm coming from seeing these dollar amounts of, oh, this is how much your monthly payment would be or whatever. And like in perspective, my savings account or like checking account or whatever during dental school, like that amount of money is like what I would make in like 1 week of work as a dentist. And like that's the money that I had as like my life savings up until I graduated dental school. And I can make that in 1 week as a dentist. And it's just crazy. But that's why seeing these dollar amounts of this month per month and like all these bills and all these things that you're committing to just seems like so expensive to me, even though maybe now it is within our means. It's just like hard to believe that. And I'm still saving like 70% of my income because like I said, I try to live like that white coat investor kind of student mindset, even though you're a practicing dentist, and that allows you to save a lot of money. Obviously, if we do this home build, we're not being the most financially responsible, but we'd still be able to save a bit, just not as aggressively as we currently are. However, it's all good. But that's everything from this 3-month check-in. I got to get to the airport to go to this course. So I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode, and I will see you in the next one.